Sir, that's right. I agree.
All right. Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting of March 21st. Appreciate everybody being here with us. Apologize for that. Hopefully we've got a lot to do this evening, but we'll get down to business and hopefully get out of here before the rain comes back. We do have a quorum. We'll declare the meeting open. I'm going to ask Councilmember Justin Dobbs if he'll lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Please face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, be with us before, during, and after this meeting, as each decision made will have an effect on the community. Please watch over all of us in the coming weeks and continue to shine your light on the people of Ukraine. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, Justin. All right. We have the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of March 7th. Everybody have an opportunity to review those.
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. At this time, we'll open for citizen comments. Does anybody have anything for the council regarding the items on the agenda? Is there anyone here to address the council regarding the Woodman Circle home? Okay, very good. If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. On C1, these items are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda includes items E8, E9, E10, and F1. Would anybody like these broken apart for any reason? Okay, if not, we get a motion on consent.
Move to approve consent.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent is approved. Okay, we have the next consent agenda. These items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion subject to staff review letter. Without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent items subject to staff review letter includes items G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G6, and G7. Would anybody like these broken apart for any reason?
I move to approve the double asterisk consent agendas as with approval of I got to get the right wording here, excuse
Staff
me.
review letter.
With approval of the city staff.
I second that.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, at this time, I believe Robbie's going to tee up some items for our next discussion. Robbie, if you want to take it.
Yes. So Mayor, Council, we have quite a number of agenda items on tonight's agenda relating to the hospital project that we've discussed at previous council meetings and various executive sessions. So what I thought I would do is run through kind of the status of those, what each of these agenda items relates to in very high level. We've got more people here in the audience than you can shake a stick at, ready to deep dive into any of these once those agenda items come up. But instead of having to rehash this every single agenda item, I thought we cover it at a high level and then turn it to you guys when the agenda item comes up. So the first item that you're going to see is actually the first item in public hearing, which is the Tax Equity and Financial Responsibility Act hearing, TEFRA for short. So in short, this is a federal law that requires that any municipality for which these private activity bonds are issued have to have the approval of the municipality and have to have a public hearing to allow the public to speak to this if they so desire. So that's what D1 public hearing is going to be about. So that satisfies these requirements. There will be another agenda item that relates to the council's action then on this public hearing that will be part of a resolution, not an ordinance, as you might otherwise think. So D1 is this public hearing for the TEFRA requirements. The next one is Resolution 6859. It is an amended and restated master development agreement with the city, with Crossroads Hospital Development, IVP3 Group, CFP Sherman. This amendment to the master development agreement, which was approved about a year ago by the city council, just clarifies the roles of each of the parties. As we're nearing the end of the pre-development phase and about to move into the construction phase of this project, it clarifies those roles, identifies Ivy P3 Group as the project manager, and defines those roles in each of those phases: pre-development, construction phase, the operations phase. And then it also clarifies the role of the Crossroads Hospital development or developer to be a development consultant. E3 is an amended and restated pre-development loan agreement. So you may remember we originally passed this, the council originally passed this again about a year ago, that established the timeframes under which the pre-development activities would occur. It established a budget. It also established the parties to the contract, which you can see there are many. And so this amendment does a few things. Number one, it extends the term of the contract to July 31st. Back in October, November timeframe, we came to you and said, hey, there have been a few setbacks. We need more time. We extended it to, through the council action, to April 30th. And while we're not to April 30th yet, what we're hearing from our bond counsel and the others involved is that we need a little bit more time past April 30th. We don't believe we're going to need until July 31st, but to give us a little bit of room, we just picked that as a date. And Robert and Brian can speak more definitively to the calendar that we have here, and we actually have a calendar for you guys to look at in terms of lining out the steps from here to the next phase. But so item number one on this amendment extends the term from April 30th to July 31st. It also adds a little bit to the pre-development budget that will not affect the city's participation, but kind of reshuffles the deck a little bit on how particularly the in-kind contributions are allocated. Third thing is, as we got into the project and determined that we really needed the entire 16.8 acres that's remaining as part of the tract that I don't know whose name it is. Jeff Harkinson can speak to that, but he and a group of developers own the property. So this agreement changes from 12-acre site to a 16.8 acre site that will help in getting the deal closed. And then the final thing is changing the names of some of the parties to the agreement. In the original agreement, Ivy was identified as IHG, Ivy Hotel Group. They're now incorporated as Ivy P3 Group. So that's the kind of the high level of the those resolution 6860 changes. E4 is, now this is related to the public hearing. This is the city council authorizing issuance of up to $300 million in revenue bonds, the private activity bonds, which will be tax exempt. Law requires that the city, as the municipality in which these private activity bonds will be issued, approves this issuance, and it will be used to do things like fund the hospital and equipment, working capital and debt reserves, and all the other reserve accounts that will be established as part of the transaction. It'll fund capitalized interest. So again, these are just the high level things, but this resolution is needed because city council approval is needed for them to take next steps. E5 is resolution 6862. It's the replenishment agreement. The bonds for this project will be issued in 4 tranches, A, B, B1, and C, or maybe it's A1, and okay, A1 and 2, B and C. The C part of that issuance will be backstopped basically by the city. This is not debt of the city. It's not debt service that the city is responsible for. This is really our ensuring that the bond reserve fund only on Series C stays at the level established by the bond covenants. If at any time during the project that bond reserve funds dips below what is set, then the city could be called on to, or would be called on to replenish that. Afterwards, when the hospital was able, those replenished amounts would be reimbursed to the city. But the city is committing at this point not to pay the bonds back, not to have the debt on our books, but to be a backstop in case all of the reserves and all of the other things that happen before bond reserves would be called on, that we're willing to backstop that. There is no escalation clause in this, which means that there is no right of the bondholder to call the note. Sometimes in banking relationships, if there's a default, or if you don't make your principal and interest payments, the lender can call the note, so to speak. Well, there is no provision like that for the city, right? So there can't be a call for the city to pay the however many millions is going to be backstopped by the city. So there should be no instance, and will be no instance, where we would ever have to write a X amount of millions of dollars of check. And then finally, this replenishment will be subject to annual appropriations, which means that the city can choose annually to replenish or not. Now, the commitment that you make is a serious commitment, and the city council needs to plan on replenishing as is needed. We don't believe that there will be any replenishment ever needed, but to the extent that there is, this would be a serious commitment, and there could be very negative consequences if a replenishment is needed and the council at the time decides not to replenish. That could hurt our bond rating significantly. So this, again, is not an obligation of the city, just a backstop of the city. And then E6 is the public-private partnership agreement between the city, CFP, Sherman Hospital, and the Community Hospital Corporation. Again, we've got people in the audience, representatives that can speak to any of these things, but this also sets responsibilities for each party, particularly as it gets into the construction and operations phases. So remember, this isn't a project where the city is not building anything. This is not a City of Sherman Hospital. It's not funded by the city. It's not managed by the city. It's not operated by the city. The city is simply a beneficiary of this new 501c3 nonprofit entity that will be building and operating this facility. CHC, Community Hospital Corp., has been identified as the operator, and I believe is the operation agreement there? Okay, been agreed upon, signed, and signed. So they will be the hospital operator. But this resolution sets forth, and the agreement, public-private partnership agreement, sets forth details about acquisition of land and whose responsibility this is, construction and operation of the hospital, financing, underwriting, things for the hospital, design specifications for improvements, management, construction of the facility, et cetera. So that's a mouthful. I didn't want to have to rehash all of this with every single agenda item related to the hospital. I think now probably isn't the time for these guys to speak. If we get to these agenda items and you have questions about anything we just talked about, Linda, of course, will be reading captions, and you guys can ask whatever questions. I can probably handle the things at 20 to 30,000 feet. And we've got guys here that can deep dive into however much detail you want for each of these. But wanted to just set the stage for all of those items that we'll be talking about tonight.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and open public hearing. Linda, if you'll go ahead and read D1 for us, please.
Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act public hearing.
Okay. You just heard the explanation for this from Robbie. Is there anyone here to speak on this item this evening? If not, Linda, can you read D2 for us, please?
Ordinance 6460, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a smoke vape shop in a C1 Retail Business District, 01, 75, and 82 Overlay District at 2916 North Highway 75, Suite 110, being Lot 4 of Schaefer Plaza Tava Properties, LLC owner, Infinity and Beyond, tenant, Newman Muhammad, representative, and Sands Surveying Corporation surveyor, providing that this specific use permit shall be granted subject to certain conditions, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Hi, Mayor Council. This item is for a specific use permit to allow a smoke vape shop in a C1 district. It is located in Schaefer Plaza, facing 75 frontage, just south of the Starbucks. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 6-0.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay, so you're the owner rep to answer any questions in a few minutes? Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? Okay. Not Linda, if you'll read D3 for us, please.
Ordinance 6461, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a commercial amusement center bingo hall in a C2 general commercial district at 1729 Texoma Parkway, being 5.341 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763. Eisenhower Texoma Limited owner and John Munson representative, providing this specific use permit shall be granted subject to certain conditions, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000. Finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, the applicant has requested a specific use permit to run a bingo hall at this location. It's in a C2 district. Planning and Zoning recommended approval.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Yes, ma'am.
I'm
You'll
John
state your-
Munson. I'm managed and one of the owners of the center. And we have Cynthia Roberts here that is with the VA Auxiliary. And one thing we didn't mention in planning and zoning, but I don't know if you all know it, but the new Veterans Referral Center is now in that location as well, down on the south end of that building. It's 12,500 square feet, and it's beautiful. Here's Cynthia.
We're just looking to move our bingo hall from the VFW currently. I'm with the VFW Auxiliary, and we're looking to move it to a different location. So it's
Okay.
not a brand new thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? You. All right, Linda, if you'll read D4 for us, please.
Ordinance 6462, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a self-storage facility in a C1 Retail Business District at 2450 North Travis Street, being 3.03 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763. Sean McDonald, owner, Richard Straub, representative, Baca Architecture, architect, and Helvey Wagner Surveying Incorporated, surveyor, providing that this specific use permit shall be granted subject to certain conditions, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000. Finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a specific use permit to allow self-storage in a C1 district. Five Star Storage has their main self-storage office on the east side of Travis, right across from this site. This would be a second location where they would have additional storage. Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6 recommend approval.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. Not Linda, if you'll read D5 for us.
Ordinance 6463, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, ordinance number 2280, so as to include certain property within the C2 General Commercial District located at 1410 West Houston Street, being Lot 1, Block 3 of the replat of Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and the north 15 feet of Lot 5, Block 3 of Elliott Gray's Hill Addition, Laurel Acres Limited owner, Jonathan Halford, Destiny's Heating and Air, tenant, and Jerry Montgomery, surveyor, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a zone change from a C1 district to a C2 so that the applicant and owner of the property can have a contractor's office. They're a HVAC contractor here in town. Planning and zoning voted to approve it 6.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening?
Jonathan Halford.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir, for being here. Anyone else? You. All right, Linda, if you'll read D6, please.
Ordinance 6464, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, Ordinance Number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R2 Multifamily Residential District located at 1530 Texoma Parkway, being 2.995 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, Abstract Number 763. 1530 Texoma Oz, LLC owner, Baca Architecture Architect, and Copley Land Surveying Incorporated Surveyor, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a zone change to change the zoning, recommended to change the zoning from a C2 district to R2 to do multifamily development. This is the location of the former Economy Inn, right there at the corner of Texoma and 75. The developer is planning on converting the 60 motel rooms into 40 multifamily units. In addition to that, they're planning on building new structures to have 27 additional multifamily. The site plan approval from additional on the annexation or the abandonment of East Street, which is on their kind of east and north boundary of the site. Other than that, planning and zoning recommended approval 6.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Sir.
John Nyland.
Okay, thank you for being here. Anyone else? Okay. Linda, if you'll read D7 for us, please.
Ordinance 6465, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, Ordinance Number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R2 Multifamily Residential District located at 3209 Texoma Parkway, being 31.116 acres in the Reuben Hendricks Survey, Abstract Number 811, Sherman, NEC, Texoma, and 82 LP owners, David Bond, Representative, Spires Engineering Incorporated, Engineer, Surveyor, and Haydeck Architects, Architect, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a rezone from C2 to R2 to build a multifamily development at the former location of the Sheridan Mall. The developer is planning on building 726 multifamily units. Planning and zoning voted to approve 6-0.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item? Yes.
David Bond with Spires.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you, sir, for being here. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Okay. Not Linda, if you'll read D8 for us, please.
Ordinance 6466, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, Ordinance Number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R2 Multifamily Residential District located at 123 South Ricketts Street and 825 West Lamar Street, being the proposed Lot 11R of the replat of G.Y. Gray's Second Edition, a replat of Lots 10, 11, and 12, Block 2, G.Y. Gray's Second Edition, also being 0.230 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, Abstract Number 763, and being the south 100 feet of Lots 10 and 11, Block 2, G.Y. Gray's Second Edition, containing 0.402 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, Abstract Number 763. House of Eli owner, Tawny Hodge, applicant, and Copley Land Surveying Incorporated Surveyor, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
This item is for a zone change from an R1 district to an R2 district. The House of Eli currently is located at the corner of Ricketts and Lamar. They also own the property on Lamar, and they're replatting that all into one lot, and they would like to do multifamily there, essentially because they have two structures there. They have one on the one on the Lamar parcel and then one on the Ricketts. So they're combining that into one. Planning and zoning voted to approve it.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Hi, Tony. Thank you for being here. Anyone else? Linda, if you'll read D9, D10, and D11 together, please.
Ordinance 6467, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, ordinance number 2280, so as to include certain property within the R1 one-family residential district located at 320 North Wood Street, being 0.150 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763, and being a part of Lot 1R, Block 5, replat of Lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition. Also being the proposed Lot 1R of the replat of Lots 1R and 3R, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition, House of Eli owner, Tawny Hodge applicant, and Copley Land Surveying Incorporated surveyor, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law. Ordinance 6468, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 12, ordinance number 2280, so as to include certain property within the C1 Retail Business District located at 316 and 320 North Wood Street, being 0.332 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763, and being a part of Lot 1R and all of Lot 3R, Block 5, replat of Lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition. Also being the proposed Lot 3R of the replat of Lots 1R and 3R, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition, House of Eli owner, Tawny Hodge applicant, and Copley Land Surveying Incorporated surveyor, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, providing a repealing savings clause, severability clause, and an effective date, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law. Ordinance 6469, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Section 8, subsection 5A, ordinance number 2280, so as to grant a specific use permit to allow a security office with living quarters for House of Eli located at 316 North Wood Street, being the proposed Lot 3R of the replat of Lots 1R and 3R, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition, being a replat of Lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 5, Extends Maple Addition, also being 0.332 acres in the J.B. McInerney Survey, abstract number 763, in a C1 Retail Business District. House of Eli owner, Tawny Hodge applicant, and Copley Land Surveying Incorporated surveyor, providing that this specific use permit shall be granted subject to certain conditions, providing a penalty not to exceed $2,000, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. Well done. Good job. Rob?
These three items are all connected, and the rezoning is all kind of intertwined in this situation. D9 involves the rezoning of 320 North Woods into R1 to develop a single-family dwelling. And then at 316 North Woods, the plan is to rezone it to C1 to allow for the storage of things pertaining to the House of Eli. D11 is regarding a specific use permit to allow a security office with living quarters on that lot at 316 North. The Planning and Zoning voted to approve all three, 6-0. The security office with the living quarters did have conditions on it that are in the ordinance, and it limited to the dwelling to 600 square feet for the security office with living quarters, and restricted it only to the House of Eli.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address these three items this evening? Okay. Thank you, Tawny. Anyone else? All right. Well, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and consider the adoption of ordinances. Council, questions, comments?
Robbie, I do have a question. And I think this is the first kickoff, D1, kind of to the long list of Ivy hotel stuff.
Yep.
And so I just wanted some clarification. in relationship to the financing and the city's responsibilities there. You know, I know in the past, the city had no backstop responsibility. It seems as if that's shifting in this, in some of these agenda items. I'm not exactly sure which one it shifts, but you know, if it's this first one, great. If not, your answer will help me in the next item. So,
Right.
I guess, can you explain to me, I know that in the beginning, throughout this whole process, the city wasn't gonna have any ongoing responsibility other than being a benefactor. And that's changed. And, you know, this is the first we've heard of this. So can you kind of give me some explanation for that?
Yeah, sure. So you're right that that relates to item E5, Resolution 6862, which is the replenishment agreement. Yeah, so well, first of all, the city's not ever been involved in a project like this, and so there is no kind of history for us to go on in terms of our responsibilities or our participation, what our roles are. So it is a rather unique project itself, and so that itself is kind of lending to our having to work with the developers, landowners, the operators to create this project to bring healthcare, you know, back to Sherman in this way. And the other things, to your question about our responsibility. So this is not a debt of the city. I just want everyone to be clear of that. This doesn't go on our balance sheet. We're not on the hook for the debt. Our responsibility relates to the replenishment of this debt reserve fund. So, you know, the project, when they issue bonds, will issue bonds for a myriad of things. They'll issue, and let's call it 230 million, 40, 50, between 2 and 300 million. And we set the max at 300 million through our efforts tonight. I mean, that's part of what this does. But of that, you know, 200 whatever million, a vast majority is used for the construction of the facility and the equipping of the facility, okay? The other funds that are left over are used for things like capitalized interest, setting up debt reserve funds, construction reserve funds, working capital reserve funds, you know, reserve funds for tranches A, B, C, or A1, A2, B, and C. So all of those things will be set up for the city such that the city is kind of the last resort to have to step in to do anything, okay? So in theory, there should be no call on the city's part to have to replenish anything if things go as they're projected. So the thing that changed from our discussions is projects like this, of this magnitude, they just don't get done without a backstopping of the city. Not an issuing a debt of the city, but a backstop of the city. And we kind of noodled through this with RBC, which is the underwriter of the bonds for this project. And so in today's market, post-COVID, construction costs being, you know, heavier now than they were even 2 years ago, a backstop like this is really, it's required. It's essential for us to be able to get the deal done. I do think it's not, while the amount is not small, you know, the incremental revenues from this project to the city annually are going to be very close to what we would be backstopping. In other words, the incremental water revenues, the sewer revenues, the trash, the impact fees, the property taxes, all of those revenues that will be an increment to the city are a little bit less than the total amount that we would be backstopping. And so from a risk standpoint, is there risk to the city? Sure, there's risk to the city. I don't believe the risk is great. And we have vetted this as well in terms of how this will be documented in the bond documents. Vetted this with our city's bond counsel, with our city attorneys, with our city's financial advisor, Gary Kimball, internal staff, working through the other myriad of attorneys, representing various aspects of this project. So we shouldn't say there's no risk in this. We just believe the risk is small, and ultimately, I believe the risk is worth it. Else, I wouldn't have brought it to you. So that was kind of a long answer.
So I guess let me ask you that again. So my question is the change in the financing piece of this. Was there a change in the type of bonds that are being issued that have required the city to go on the hook?
It wasn't the type of bonds. It was what the bond underwriter was requiring. So 2 years ago, there was no talk of this being needed. And now the bond underwriter, without question, has said you must have this backstop for this deal to go to market.
And the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, obviously it's a federal act, that's going to happen whether we backstop it or not. We have to have this to go through.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Rob, on 6464, can you tell me the conditions that P&Z laid out for that?
Yeah, the site plan condition was based on the abandonment of Northeast Street would be completed. Their site plan that they submitted included half of the right-of-way, and so they couldn't approve that site plan the way that it was without that condition. That condition doesn't really affect the zoning in this case, or informational.
Where exactly is East Street at on that?
It's
on the.
It's right where it's pointing right there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a half-maintained
Driveway.
driveway.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a street.
It
Okay.
doesn't.
I was like, I don't ever remember one being there. So.
Yeah, that was my question. Like, there's a street there. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign plate.
Wow.
I have a question about D2. I've only been on the council for a number of months here. I don't know what the council's past experience has been with this kind of organization. Is there anything to be concerned about? Our history with smoke vape shops? Is there any kind of history we could discuss?
Yeah, let me just say these sometimes are controversial. We discussed this aspect of it in staff meeting this morning or today. The reason that we do these through specific use is I believe it's wise for the city to retain the right to review how the applicant is doing in regard to what he or she said they would do with regard to a specific use for a vape shop. We've had some instances where some don't do what they say they were going to do, and we have to, as a council, have to have the ability to not renew their specific use permit. This is no different. This is a specific use permit. I'm assuming, is it for a 12-month period?
It's not.
Open-ended?
Yeah, it's open-ended at this point.
And they could put a time limit on it if they so chose? You can put, with a specific use, you can put conditions on it that bind the applicant to whatever conditions you agree on. So yes, there have been issues in the past. There have been some that have done what they said they were going to do, no problem. Others, not so much. So yeah, there have been issues, and I know the applicant is here to speak if you want to hear from him. Please.
So, and tell me this, we had another vape shop request a specific use permit in this same site some months ago, I believe, but they were going to have novelty items, maybe products that could be used other than with tobacco, and also some inappropriate type novelty items. And I guess I could ask you those questions.
Was that the same place?
No, I don't think it's the same place, but.
So I think if this actually also came up in the planning and zoning meeting, I think there was a tattoo shop that was wanting to sell more of smoke shop items with it. And it's a very legit concern because this is actually our third shop. Our fourth shop is getting approved in Waxahachie as well as we speak. So yeah, completely legit concern. Our focus here is to pretty much maintain a very high-end clientele. We are very successful at doing this, mainly because we do a very good job at keeping the bad situations away from here. So a couple of things that you'll see in our smoke shops that you won't see in other smoke shops, we have very well maintained compliance officers. So for example, last January, when some of the products in the smoke shop industry were getting questioned if we want to allow them to sell in the state of Texas, not sell them, we actually have an individual for our company whose whole job is to just sit there and update our company and make sure that we're in compliance with the whole state of Texas. And that person is very well educated in this. He actually did drug testing for the state of Texas for the last 17.5 years. So we do take focus on that. And along with that, like we talked about, one of the questions that came last meeting about some of the products that are used for the substances that we really don't want around here. That's not, those items are very cheap items. Those items are not the clientele that you want. And to be quite frank with you, if you want a successful business in this industry, those are not the type of clientele that you want in your shop. That's the answer to that. We completely understand the risk behind it, and we're more than happy to accept any sanctions that we can review in a year, 2 years, whatever the case is. But with that being said, we are up to the challenge, and we will be more than happy to show you what we're talking about.
My question would be the signage that's put out. That means a lot to me. Kids
Right.
walking by, things that will
Right.
want them to. I think they're getting ready to buy something that's going to do something else to them, and that means a lot to me as far as the signage, because I got an issue with one.
So once again, even with the signage, we've read what we need to abide by with the city. But more importantly, we don't believe in some of the way that we advertise. We have a lot of clients that are already coming to our Plano store from Denison, Howie. We're not really looking to come in here and just go heavy on advertising, promoting everybody. It is a convenience factor for a lot of our customers that are already coming to our stores. And on top of that, we want to make sure that we can be more loyal to those individuals. So as far as advertising goes, you're not going to see anything aggressive from us. A lot of smoke shops, they get a bad name because he has the highlighted windows and these things are going on in the windows. So we try to make it very subtle, high-end. If you do talk to any of our business people, our average sale ticket in our store, we try to keep it above $150. And in a smoke shop, that's a very high-end smoke shop so we do not want a low-level clients that are going to bring other issues with us, because at the end of the day, Infinity and Beyond Shop is our brand, and we don't want anything happening to our brand.
I think that I would feel comfortable if we put like a 1 year on it, and then sounds like you're going to meet the standards, and in 1 year you come back and we go for it, that type of thing.
And like I said,
Because if we have been bitten before by people and not just smoke shops, tire companies especially,
Right, yeah.
that they're going to have this standard, and then 3 weeks after they open, they definitely don't meet the standard. So I'm going to recommend that when the motion is made, that we put a 1 year specific use permit on it, and then we'll see you again in a year and give you a thumbs up if everything's gone terrific.
I'm very, very happy to abide by that.
I have a question too. On this, it's a smoke shop. Does it involve anything else that you're going to be selling, like CBD oils or anything else like that?
We do have CBD oil. We do have, your regular vapes. We're also going to have backpacks, clothing. So it is going to be more of a all one stop. But once again, even the CBD oil, we don't sell any of those tinctures that you see in the gas stations. They're like $8, $9. We sell anything that we sell is going to be high end product in that aspect as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, council, any more discussion on, got a number of these to discuss and consider, so.
I have one question on D8.
Okay.
Tani, do you guys plan to change the use of your facilities there? Is it just going to continue being used the way it's being used now? Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Well, if there's nobody else has any
Got 'em all?
questions,
How many you have?
let's see. I guess I should make a motion okay, which one was the smoke shop again, so that I can say it on the right one, because I think I need to make,
It's D2.
yeah.
D2.
I need to make a motion on number 6460 that we pass this with a 1-year stipulation that they will come back to us in a year to be reviewed. Okay. Then, are there any others that anybody had questions, or do you want me to go ahead and just do them all then?
Do them all. What's wrong?
All right, then I make a motion for 6460, like I just a moment ago. Then I'm going to make 6461, 6462, 6463, number 6464, 6465, 6466, 6467, 6468, and 6469. Third motion for those to be passed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, we are to proposed resolution 6858. Linda, if you'll read that for us, please.
A resolution of the City of Sherman determining the costs of Phase 1 district improvements to be financed by the Bel Air Village Public Improvement District, approving a preliminary service plan and assessment plan, including proposed Phase 1 assessment roll, directing the filing of the proposed assessment roll for Phase 1 with the City Secretary, calling a regular meeting and noticing a public hearing for April 4th, 2022, to consider an ordinance levying assessments on property located within the Bel Air Village Public Improvement District, directing the filing of the proposed Phase 1 assessment roll with the City Secretary to make available for public inspection, directing city staff to publish and mail notice of said public hearing, and resolving other matters incident and related thereto.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Let's let the crowd clear the room. We did clear the room.
Cleared it
Quite
out,
a bit.
didn't it?
Right, Robbie.
Yes, council, mayor, and the council, this is an amendment to the Public Improvement District, which the plan of which has already been approved. As Municap, Devin's here with Municap, by the way, to speak to this, to go into detail if you'd like. But remember that the Public Improvement District is an instrument used by the developer to assess properties within the development for improvements, enhancements, et cetera. Previously, the city has no participation in that. I mean, we have to approve it as the taxing authority, but the developer is the one that is allowed these assessments, and the dollars from the assessments go to the developer to reimburse him, he or she, him or her, for the improvements made. When this plan was first approved, building costs were way different than they are now. And so as Municap began to look at this issue, they determined that an additional assessment was available to through the PID. And so this request is to amend the plan to allow for an increased assessment on a per lot basis, the difference of which would go to the developer. In the previous plan, the developer had costs that were going to be incurred, which just simply weren't covered by the PID. So what this does is allow the developer to recover more of the cost than he was able to recover in the previous, through the previous agreement. Is that pretty good high level, Devin, or do you want to add anything?
Speak. Hi, everyone. Mayor, members of council. As Robbie mentioned, my name is Devin Whitlock with Municap, and we're the city's PID administrator. And as Robbie mentioned, I think that the prices of some of these homes have gone up drastically within the last year. The action before you tonight is just to approve a resolution determining the costs of the authorized improvements within the PID. I don't believe that those costs have changed, but what we're doing and the formal action we're trying to get to is to increase that assessment levy. And by doing so, we're looking at a slightly higher assessment per unit within the structure, but we're able to now provide, for the full infrastructure, all the authorized improvements to be funded through the PID. So this is the first step statutorily tonight for you all to approve that resolution and then call a public hearing on that levy of assessments for the April 4th meeting. But here to answer any questions if you might have them.
Questions?
Move to approve 6858.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Linda, you'll read E2, E3, E4, E5, and E6 together. Be great. Thank you.
Resolution 6859, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman approving and authorizing execution of an amended and restated master development agreement among the City of Sherman, Texas, Crossroads Hospital Development, LLC, IVP3 Group, LLC, and CFP Sherman Hospital, LLC, for the development, design, and construction of an estimated 80-bed acute care hospital and appropriate site amenities supporting the same within the City of Sherman, Texas. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law. Resolution 6860, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman approving and authorizing execution of the second amended and restated pre-development loan agreement among CFP Sherman Hospital, LLC, the City of Sherman, Texas, Crossroads Hospital Development, LLC, IVP3 Group, LLC, AP Gulf States Incorporated, Sherman Hospital Management Company, LLC, and E4H Architecture for the commitment of funds for pre-development expenses related for the development, design, and construction of an estimated 80-bed acute care hospital and appropriate site amenities supporting the same within the City of Sherman. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law. Resolution 6861, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing the issuance of an amount not to exceed $300 million principal amount of revenue bonds, CFP Sherman Hospital, LLC, Series 2022 of the Industrial Development Authority of the City of Phoenix, Arizona. Resolution 6862, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing execution of a replenishment agreement between the City of Sherman and UMB Bank, N.A., pursuant to which the city will consider appropriating funds to cure any deficiencies in the debt service reserve fund established and to be maintained for the Series 2022 C bonds, issued in connection with the acquisition, construction, and equipping of a new 80 licensed bed hospital in the City of Sherman, Texas. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law. Resolution 6863, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman approving and authorizing execution of a public-private partnership agreement by and between the City of Sherman, Texas, CFP Sherman Hospital, LLC, and Community Hospital Corporation. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. As you heard previously, Robbie went through these items in detail. Do we have further questions, discussion, council on these items?
Well, I'm just going to make a comment, that I know this entire time we've been actively pursuing a hospital in that corridor and in Sherman in general. And, but the entire time we've been discussing this one, it's never been with the city backstopping anything. And so this is a substantial change which could cost the citizens $40 million if it were required to be contributed every single year. And so, I am pro a hospital. I'm pro this hospital. I want to see it happen. But I think this is such a dynamic change. The conversation, I believe, with council probably should have happened prior to this meeting. And, this is a change that I'm not prepared to make today. So I would motion we table it so that we can discuss this in depth to get a full understanding of what this is going to look like.
So I might recommend that we discuss this in executive session.
Okay.
As an alternative, and then come back, and if we want to table it, that would be fine. Well, but I get 0 calls on this. It's your.
Does that require a motion?
Yeah. Does that require a motion?
No, not to go in executive session.
Okay.
Yeah, it's listed on the agenda as an executive session pursuant to section 551087.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, and that is, because I understand Sean's question, but did we not discuss this some time ago, a few meetings ago, in
Yes.
maybe
Thought
executive
we did.
session? If I'm allowed to say that?
About backstopping the debt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
we
we-
did.
Maybe
We've
I
already
was
discussed it.
gone a meeting
You
2
could have
months
been.
ago. Yeah.
Okay,
So-
and that's my only reason, because they did bring it up to us and explain that it's the bond people that are insisting. It's like they want to know that we're in with it. that this is our indication that we are supporting this hospital being built, and that the chances of us having to backstop this are probably pretty slim. And even if we did, that the money we're getting from the hospital will pay back the money that would be out.
That's
So
right.
we'll break even. If worst case scenario, we'll break even. But I just want to make sure that I had remembered that correctly. So you must have been gone
I was
on that
gone
one
meeting,
meeting.
right?
Yeah.
I was sick, but
It may have been that one.
So we got it in executive. We'll just talk about it again
Yeah.
then.
I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the city council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, section 551.087, to discuss the Sherman Hospital project. So at 5:50,
Wait, what are you waving for?
Well,
We're coming back.
We'll come
Oh, we're
back.
coming
Yeah.
back.
We're not done.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
He's excited.
Hey, you gotta stay
For
and
a
wait,
while.
man.
Tom,
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna,
right.
we're gonna make sure you're here all
I
night.
wanna go home.
Okay, thank you.
Just wait.
He just wants to make his part get done.
Hey, Mayor, do you want anybody from
Right. We ourselves are bracing the western side.
Ready?
So we're gonna lift.
Ready? Okay. So at 6:28, we'll return back to open meeting. Go ahead, Sean.
I'll withdraw my motion to table.
Okay. So I guess we can take these one at a time. Let's say, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to move to approve 6859 as written.
I'll second it.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Resolution 6860. Got a motion on this?
Or do we need to read them? I don't think we ever read them.
Yeah,
Yeah, she read
she read them all
Go
together.
ahead and do them all,
Okay.
John.
Move to approve. Can I move to approve all of them? Move to approve resolution 6860, 6861, 6862, and 6863 as written.
I'll
I'd
second
like
it.
to pull 6862 as a separate item, please.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll amend my motion to withdraw 6862.
Okay. Second.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, let's talk about 6862. Motion on it?
Okay. We're going to make a motion on, I'll make a motion for the approval of 6862.
Second?
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, we are to proposed resolution 6864, awarding a bid to and authorize execution of a contract with O&J Coatings Incorporated based on an invitation to bid for Ida Road ground storage tank rehabilitation. Tom, come tell us about the ground storage tank rehab.
Good evening, Mayor and council. Forgive my speaking up too soon. Thank you for the time. So we opened bids on the 3rd of this month, and for the Ida Road ground storage tank. The state of Texas, the TCEQ, requires that we perform yearly inspection services. This particular tank was identified as the worst tank that we have in the city, and that they recommended that we rehabilitate it as soon as possible. So we put it on previous year's budget. We did engineering, and we were able to get under construction a little bit sooner using the ARPA funds. This project was expanded from its original scope to include putting the logo, the Sherman logo and the Austin College logo on the Harrison tank. And also, when the Harrison tank was done, the safety climber had not been installed at that time yet either. So this work will also finish up what was not done on that tank 3 years ago. So with council approval, we will move to begin contract execution.
I have a question about that. And you said they're going to put the Sherman logo and the Austin College logo?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At one time, when we were putting logos on, the particular entity would have some skin in the game here by chipping in a few dollars. Is that happening?
Yes, they are.
Okay, thank you.
Terrence.
All right, terrific. Thank you.
Right.
Glad to hear
I
it.
spoke with Terrence about that week or so ago, I guess, but
All right.
so he's been that liaison.
Okay, then I make a motion to approve 6864.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank y'all.
Council. All right, we are to, thank you, Tom. We are to consider board and commission appointments. H1, we have library board consideration.
I would move that we reappoint Lisa Hebert and also appoint Marty Burkhart and Mitch McGraw.
I'll second that motion.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have the Animal Control Advisory Committee.
I'll make a motion that we reappoint Stephanie Phillips, Kyle Weiser, and Amber Doan to the Animal Control Advisory Committee.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Okay, and now we are to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Michael Kelly and Ms. Casey be reappointed and Mr. Nathan Lightfoot be appointed.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right, we are to council comments. Justin, I'm going to start with you this evening.
No comments from me tonight.
No comment.
I want to applaud the work done regarding this weekend's Celtic Festival. First off, it was a beautiful weekend. We couldn't have asked for better weather. And it is so exciting to see the people that come in from out of town, from all over the country for the Celtic Festival. And people probably don't understand what a big deal that is, but hotels are full, restaurants are full, and so it's great for our tourism and our economy, and the people that come can go back and spread the word about what a great place we live. I love the competitions.
Absolutely. What an incredible event. Packed apart. Packed apart.
It was packed.
I wanted to share a message from Racy Guest, former councilman over in Denison. The Hometown Heroes is doing a mural presentation, a ribbon cutting on March 26th at 1 p.m. at the corner of Burnett and Chestnut to honor Major Jewel Butler, honored member of the Tuskegee Airmen. So for anyone interested in that, that's happening over in Denison.
I have no comment.
I have no comments either.
All right. Just a few announcements. I'll make it snappy. Come join us this Wednesday, March 23rd for ribbon cutting at Sherman's newest downtown business, the Loft Coffee House. Sherman Chamber will host the event at noon. It's a great chance to come out and enjoy some coffee and support another great addition to downtown. The City of Sherman will hold a public open house on March 28th from 5 to 7 to kick off our comprehensive plan and trails master plan. Come to the Sherman Municipal Ballroom to make sure your voice is heard as the city plans for the future. Finally, tonight, be sure and mark your calendar for Friday, April 1st. No fooling, that's what it says. As we will announce our annual Hot Summer Nights Live. For 2022 at Coffee with the Mayor. So we have a great Hot Summer Nights lineup. As the weather attested, we'll be at St. Mary's School at 8 a.m. that day with our very own Sarah McRae on hand to tell you about the 10 great bands we'll be hosting this summer. You won't want to miss out. All right, council, if there's no other business, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Terrific.
Oh, this is a tricky thing.
Yeah.